Texas Southern University School of Communication is proud to recognize the 36th Annual Intercultural Communication Conference, more recently known as TSU ComWeek. It is an honor to introduce the founder of our Intercultural Communications Conference, Dr. Dorothy Franzone. We asked Dr. Franzone how she came to Texas Southern.
My name is Dorothy Lawrence Franzone. I am a graduate of Bishop College. I went to the University of Michigan for 2 degrees, and my PhD is from Temple University in African American Studies. I started work here after I had taught in the Houston Independent Schools as a speech therapist, and came into the communications department at that time to head their speech correction department, which developed into the communications department and into the School of Communications later on.
Dr. Franzone illustrates how the conference began.
I started teaching intercultural communication as one of my major emphases for the senior level students. I say junior, senior level students. And in that course, the major emphasis, or the introduction of that course, was to let the students know who they were so that we could start from that point of knowing themselves. So we started working with beliefs, values, and attitudes. And that developed into some controversy, of course, because everybody has different beliefs, and started arguing or discussing, to be more exact, a religion. So we ended up trying to solve some problems with who believed what and why by inviting the many different religions to the campus for a final discussion from the ministers. And that happened, I guess, about the 4th year into the course, because until that time we had not gathered outside help or outside intervention.
Religious leaders from Houston would meet with the intercultural communication students to discuss the controversies involving the differences in beliefs.
It graduated from that into emphasis on beliefs, values, and attitudes that involved more than just religion. So we brought in the many different ethnic groups, the different languages, and TSU, fortunately, is one of the most diverse schools in the country, certainly here in Houston.
Soon, there was an evolution discovered in the ongoing discussions.
The major emphasis graduated to the appearance of nationally known informative people who could help us. And being Afrocentric in my own background and interest, I depended upon those persons who were at that time, and still are, the most profoundly based persons in that. Dr. Malefi Asante of Temple University was one of our most often speakers. He is also the father of what is known now as Afrocentricity. He began the first major conference, and his students and his faculty, some of the persons with whom he worked, and that I also later began to work from CTAR and from the Intercultural Communications Conferences across the nation, became speakers and presenters at future conferences that we had.
We asked Dr. Franzone to share the direction of the Intercultural Communications Conference.
The Afrocentric view expanded to include other individuals and persons who were of national and international interest. Bishop Tutu was one of our presenters. We've also had individuals who came from Minister Alvin Curling, who was the black minister in the Canadian ministry, that brought us the idea of not only African Americans from America, but those that migrated or have become a part of our culture from the islands. We spent time, Dr. Joseph Jones was also very, very informative and very, very helpful in bringing to us expertise and the opportunity to do travel so that we as faculty, me in particular as faculty, could go and to investigate cultures and bring back that information. We spent summers, for example, in Belize, in Honduras, Nicaragua. We spent summers in the Virgin Islands. I have delivered papers in Singapore, spent time in Russia and in China, bringing back to this campus the information that was sought and from those cultures, and participants even from persons who have presented at foreign conferences who later became participants in the conferences here on our campus.
Dr. Franzone, in her travels, brought speakers and other cultures to the annual conference.
I am pleased to note and to remember how many different conference presenters from across the world, not just the nation, who later heard of our conference and became presenters and participants in that year's or the next year's conference, and who wrote and to the department even before it became we became conscious of the fact that we were spreading it, and we had gone beyond just our TSU communications, but it became a campus-wide presentation. The schools, the music department, the education department, all of these schools became a part of the presenters for our Intercultural Communications Conference. So it really became a school-wide presentation of 2, sometimes 3 days.
We asked Dr. Franzone what advice did she have for students and faculty that attend the conference.
What I would hope that students and everyone who is privileged to attend would take away from it would be to, as I have perhaps stated in other words, see themselves in a broader perspective. Because through learning about other people and what they believe and what they do and how they perceive this thing, this entity called God, and their response to it, I would hope that they would see themselves as a larger part of this world.
The School of Communication is comprised of 4 major disciplines: journalism, speech communication, entertainment recording management, radio, television, and film. Dr. Franzone discusses them in regards to the Intercultural Communication Conference.
We cannot leave out either one of those disciplines, because event planning depended upon each one of those departments, each one of those areas, each one of those major emphases participating and helping to produce the event. We cannot do without journalism. We cannot do without the publicity of your TV. We cannot do without the writings and the organizational content that would come into the process of scheduling. It is knowing how to reach out and touch people through communication, through networking, through being the person who can invite and interest others in what you are interested in, being able to verbalize, being able to write about it, being able to talk about it, being able to convince, to persuade. All of these will cover the 4 disciplines that we're now talking about within the content of communication. So they are all overlapping and interrelated. That was the beauty of the conference, because each student, no matter what his major emphasis was, became a important, a significant, a vital part of the total production. And hopefully they will see themselves with that major interest and that major, being the major recipient of what the results was. If we learn as individuals to respect the other person's right to believe and do what he or she thinks is right for them, no matter what that is. As long as we respect their right to do it, I think that we owe it to ourselves to understand and to accept, as our lives allow us to accept, that which he or she will say to us. Because sometimes our own background causes us to cut out other people, other beliefs, and to turn other people off before they get started. If we just listen, if we listen more and speak less, observe more, and try to understand without judging what other people do, and ask them why they do what they do, rather than assuming or drawing conclusions about what we think they're doing and why they're doing it. I think we become a more humane, a more loving person, certainly a more accepting person.
She spoke about the future of the conference.
My plans for the future for the conference was always to get bigger and get more information, to bring as broad a view, worldview, into the classroom as I possibly could, so that when each student left, he left with a view of himself, not of the world, of himself, that was broader than that which he came into the classroom. My view and my hope for the conference was that it would expand as it has, so that the participants on this campus and across the campus, the world would know not only about TSU, but about the African American, the Afrocentric view, particularly, of how we see and value the world, ourselves, and others around us.
Thank you, Dr. Dorothy Lawrence Franzone, for your years of service, leadership, and vision for our future. We honor your legacy now and for years to come.
What I would hope would be that the students would have a greater value for themselves, and in doing that, for other people. That's it.